Hello and welcome to the Accelerator podcast by Accelerator Coaching. Here we are for season 2. I'm your host, Howard Bishop, and joining me is Ed Miles.
Well, you're not going to be the host for much longer.
No, not for much longer. We're introducing a special guest today. Today we're bringing our new host from now on, Tom Bilcliffe.
Good afternoon, chaps. Nice to be here.
Welcome to the show, Tom.
Yeah, welcome to your first show and hopefully not the last for a long time. So we're going to bring Tom in and meeting some interesting people and people that have a train like an athlete mindset, and how Tom can have a little tete-a-tete with those people.
Yeah, I'm going to keep you two in check so you don't go down rabbit holes, and I want to, kind of keep it real for people listening, and, kind of break down that bit of science and the jargon and what it means for the everyman.
He's listened to our first season, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
Got some opinions, I feel.
So as always, we're going to find out what train like an athlete means to most people and debunk some myths along the way. So that being said, we're going to mix things up a little bit, and our old finishing section was what we're now going to call the kick-off.
It's really clever.
It is very.
I like it.
Yeah, mix it up a little bit from the end to the start. Kick-off. Okay, so 20 quick-fire questions, Tom.
Yep, go.
Answer them as quick as you can. Ed will do 10, I'll do 10. Ready to rock?
Let's go.
Right, favourite food?
Bread of many kinds.
Staple. Favourite drink?
Orange squash probably. Just any time, any place, any day.
Bread and orange squash, can't go wrong.
I sound really boring.
Water's going to be important later, so that's a good thing. Let's bring that back in later. Squats or deadlifts?
Squats just.
Favourite type of training?
Cricket training, but I think we'll come on to that.
Yeah, fair.
Person or peoples you'd most like to meet?
I don't know where this has come from, but Donald Trump seems like that could be a multi-layered meeting.
Donald
would be an interesting conversation.
Very interesting, yeah.
Describe the gym in one word.
I think it can be a bit dark in more ways than one. So dark.
I've seen some demons in this place.
We've probably answered this already, but football or cricket?
Yeah, playing and watching both cricket, I think.
FIFA or Call of Duty?
Honestly, I am rubbish with like video games and
Neither.
stuff like that. Just terrible.
Well,
says a lot about a person sometimes. Yeah. We see a bit of 50-50 on the podcast.
Doesn't waste his time on video games. I like it.
Snow or sand?
Sand. Yeah.
That sounds like a man who's just been on a long holiday somewhere exotic.
Yeah.
Would you rather fight John Wick or Jason Bourne?
I fancy my chances against Bourne.
Really?
Yeah, John Wick's deadly. No chance against John Wick.
That's a tough question, though.
Favourite superhero?
Bit retro, bit old school. Spider-Man for me.
Spidey can't go wrong.
Yeah, Spidey's definitely going to help against Jason Bourne, isn't he?
You got a dinner party? Who are your 3 guests?
I think there'd be a football manager of some ilk in there. Cloughie was the one, really, wasn't he?
Obviously, Cloughie's the man.
He's obviously passed away. As has Queen. I mean, what a life.
Yeah.
The Queen's there.
But she's got some stories to tell.
Yeah. Her and Cloughie are not going to have a lot in common, though.
No.
I reckon they'd have a few stories to share to each other.
And a bit of entertainment. Ed Sheeran come along with his guitar. We keeping it quite
nice. So you've got Cloughie, the Queen, Ed Sheeran.
Quintessentially British.
I like it. Very British.
Very good. Favourite exercises?
I should get on my bike more. Don't mind pedalling away.
What area do you think everybody needs to train more of?
Yeah, perhaps the mind. I know it's a bit deep, but
very deep start.
We've had that before, so it is a big one. And then on the other side of the coin, worst exercises. What exercise?
I don't like the skiing machine.
Skiing
and just running in general.
So which one is it? Ski or run?
Run.
Yeah. Run takes it.
Yeah.
Ski's short and it's done, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get it in and it's done.
This is a very important one. It could be the shortest career in the Accelerator podcast history. How do you have your steak?
No more than medium. It's medium rare. I don't want blood, but pinky.
And this might go along with that. Is beers with the boys or dinner with the missus?
Beers with the boys. I think.
Stay strong.
Yeah, don't tell the missus.
Well, hopefully she's not listening.
Correct.
Who's your dream training partner?
Someone who could make me laugh, and then also, I think someone like Ricky Hatton. I do like the boxer's way of doing
Ricky
it.
Hatton.
But me and him both need to shed a few pounds. So.
Paddy the baddie, get big, then lose the weight. Best tool or piece of equipment you can't live without?
Probably touching on that theme. I recently bought like a keyring with a bottle opener.
The little things. Sometimes it's the little things.
Tells us a lot
It
about
does.
a man.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Cats or dogs?
Oh, dogs. Yeah,
No, you're in team dog.
not
Team
cat
dog.
man.
So we're going to continue with the train like an athlete section we did from our first season, but obviously we don't have a guest today. We've only got our new host Tom, so we're just going to basically ask you Tom, what train like an athlete, which is our company sort of motto, what that means to you.
I suppose train like an athlete to me means when the time is right, when that gym door closes and you're in it, work hard. Don't mess about. And I'd like to think I've been here probably 9 months or so. Never shirked it. And there's sometimes that I don't want to do it, but
So
I don't know. Am I a good client? I don't know.
you're saying that you've embraced this sort of train like an athlete attitude and it mainly relates to effort and doing everything with 100% effort.
Yeah,
trying to best out yourself.
Absolutely. I think I would kind of receive a bit of a kicking, or I'm more stick than carrot, definitely. I need someone to run me and to push me, and to be fair, you guys do that, but then the reason I came here was to be able to continue to play cricket, so there is that incentive of playing cricket, even though it's at low level.
Straight away you've sort of touched in, you wanted to keep playing cricket, so you've that sort of had another layer to Tom. Train so you can keep playing the sport.
Hold a little bit of consistency as well.
As Howard reminds me, or did so, with the kind of depressing consequences, I'm past my athletic peak at the age of 32.
Well, if you look at the elite Ironman athletes, the average age I think you'll find is about 39.
There you go.
So what are you saying?
So I'm saying you still have another 7 years to make it big time in the ultra triathlon industry.
But no,
Is there anybody who's sort of inspired you? You might be yourself inspiring yourself to go to start training. Obviously, like you said, stay so you can stay playing cricket. Is there anything else that's inspired you to play cricket or to exercise when you were younger, or any idols that have kind of encouraged you along your way?
No, I think my kind of sporting choices have been through injury, and I've kind of fallen in. I like cricket, and I didn't mind playing football as a youngster. Played a lot of rugby as well, but 2 dislocated knees, and the rugby field seems out of the question. And to be honest, I didn't think I'd play cricket again. And it wasn't until a mate of mine said, "Look, just come and play, just enjoy it. It's more about the spread on at tea than it is, and just relax into it." And then coming down here to Doncaster town has been great for me. And
Doncaster City.
Yeah,
soon to be Doncaster City. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's great. And I honestly try and play as much as I can. So that'll be Saturday, Sunday, midweek. To be fair, it was one of your customers who will remain nameless. If he looks at me and says, "You need to lose a bit of timber," I kind of take that on, and it's a bit of motivation for me. So
this unnamed friend is your sort of
inspiration,
incognito inspiration.
Absolutely.
I
think you might know who he is, but
just give a big shout out to that man for pushing Tom to become a better man.
And then in that respect, is there anybody you sort of look up to still now, or anybody on like Instagram or whatever you follow? I mean, Ed and I are a bit geeky. We follow like sports science pages for inspiration, but there's people up there, like I've said Michael Jordan before, you've said a few others, Ed, haven't you, some rugby players and things that inspired you. Is there anybody that you look up to now?
Not really, because I don't feel like I can relate to a pro. If you're a pro cricketer or a pro rugby player, pro boxer, my life is so unlike theirs. They are conditioned to within an inch of their life, and they have everything on a plate for them.
And they don't have bottle openers on their keyrings.
They don't have. Well, they might, but yeah. So I find that I find it hard to link myself to this bloke or who's absolutely shredded and doing that sort of thing. So don't really have an inspiration, mate.
I bet you Ian Botham had a bottle opener on his queue.
Yeah,
I bet he did. Yeah, maybe I was just born in the wrong era, and he'd have been Beefy would have been the legend for me.
Yeah,
that's probably the most honest answer we've had to that question. Normally people are like, oh yes, I'm inspired by Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I want to be like him, and all loads of cringy crap like that. So
yeah, that's good.
It's a very honest answer, and I respect you for it. So now I guess it's time for us to hand over the metaphorical reins to Tom, who's now our official host, and he's going to direct us on a journey and introduce our topic for this premiere show.
Yeah, so the topic of today's show really is healthy lifestyles and behaviours. We're getting to that time of the year, it's February. Do you find that people are starting to slip? How do you stop them slipping in the gym, or once that gym door is shut and they go home? What are the kind of key components? Why do people slip, and how do you stop them?
I think we have seen a bit of a drop off. We've got a few people cancelling in the last week or so. I think people are getting to that point where they're going, not for me, and kind of mentally losing track.
I think that the hard bit is the battle starts way before they get here, and we can't control that. And then we, as you'll hear in the next few moments, that we're only a real small part of what you're trying to achieve.
And what sort of battle do you think that these people are having? What
Well,
is it motivation?
I think so. It's like you hear the excuse sometimes, and you're like, oh, I don't have any time, and they work 9 to 5. We've got sessions at 6 in the morning. It just depends how much you want it. Like, how are they motivated to get up early, come to the gym, do a session, get a shower, go to work?
Are you willing to make your
disciplined to do
your gym, your exercise, a non-negotiable, like your work is? Or
it's not prioritised as much. I think that's well, especially in those early stages when you made a New Year's resolution, whatever, you're trying to make better changes, and you get to that point where it's sort of like it's mentally tough because let's be honest, you come to the gym, it's not easy, is it?
No, well, it shouldn't be easy.
It shouldn't be. If it's easy, you could argue maybe not doing the right thing. But
do you think for some people the thought is worse than the deed?
Yeah. They always leave feeling loads better than when they walked in. And they're like, oh, I'm so glad I did it. I feel loads better now. That's it. It's always the case.
This is all of that. Get that mixed up with exercise, and it's all good stuff.
Whoa! Oh, what are they? Are they the good vibes? Is that what they are?
Cortisol is your fight or flight. So, or fight, fly, or flee. So if you get your cortisol going in the gym, it boosts you, and then your immediate natural reaction is to fight or flight. So that's why Ed said you feel better when you leave, so it makes you feel happier, and providing your nutrition and your hydration is good, all of that starts mixing around your body when you pump the blood, and it gets moving around and gets all the oxygen to your brain, and you feel a lot better. So that's the first part of bringing the science to everyone.
So how do you stop people from slipping behind and kind of giving themselves excuses?
I mean, train like an athlete for us is the way. So we bring that sort of sports science. We try and help the holistic approach. And this podcast is one part of bringing the holistic approach, but we try our best to educate our customers on why they should do it and what benefits they're going to get from it. And I like to think, Ed especially, over me, I try the softly approach, but we try and tell them the truth. We'll say, look, this is the truth, and it might not be the thing they want to hear, but that is the truth about what he needs to be training. Or
well, and we're going to probably cover a lot more in this podcast, but I think creating a very positive environment makes things easier to do. So like if you're going to cover all this, but like if your sleep's on point, your nutrition's on point, your water's on point, you feel better, it's easier to be motivated. Whereas if you've slept like crap, it's going to be harder to motivate yourself to do something that's going to be taxing, stuff like that. And then I think once people realise the value that 45-minute session has and the impact it has on their sort of their day and their well-being, once they realise that it's actually something very good for them, and it's sort of that positive relationship in their head has been made, that's when you start to see a big shift and people start prioritising it, and that's when you see people making real progress.
Are you always looking around at your clients in the gym and searching for clues? Have they had, enough sleep? Have they had enough water, etc., etc.? Or is that kind of, the basics that they should be bringing in anyway?
I think it's cause and effect, isn't it? So like if they come in and they feel low motivation, then we need to delve into why, and that's you only get that from building a relationship. And I'll let Ed tell it from the sort of athletic point of view, because the Knights use something like they'll use a wellness that you'll know before they even step foot in the door, won't they? So Ed, do you want to explain that?
So a lot of in elite sport they use like I said, wellness monitoring. So I know it's used pretty much widespread throughout most sports, and they try and implement some level of it at most levels. So at the Knights they've got like a 3-way approach. So they've got like a wellness form which you do on the morning of when you're on your way there. So that's looking, I think, at like sleep, how sore you feel. It's all subjective, done by the player, like on a scale of 1 to 10, and then that goes into a system that the physio then reviews, and it flags up. So if it's above a certain number on certain things, it'll like ping red, so then you can see it. And then there's the options available where they can type in if they're feeling anything else, like comments like my back's in absolute bits, stuff like that. And then they come in and then they've got baseline monitoring, which is a number of it's a number of like mobility tests. So there's a knee to wall where they measure it, so they compare it then to their normative like average. So if it's down, that indicates some level of fatigue. And they've got like a groin squeeze, which is, measures the amount of pressure you can put through squeezing your legs together. There is a sit and reach, so obviously that's a good indicator of sore backs, tight hammies, etc. And then based on all that information, you can then make a decision of how fatigued they are, and you can combine that with their wellness scores. And then obviously in the gym, so that's like that you move through it. So you've gone on the way in, you've done your wellness form. When you get there, you then do your monitoring, and then you move into the gym session. And then in the gym session, it's by the time you get there, the physio might have flagged up to me or the S&T coach that there's some fatigue in a certain player, and then we go have a conversation. On that day, you might get some more feedback. So if they've done a lift, we keep track of all their loads. So then if their load is down to what they should be at, we'll go, what's going on? And then that's another layer. And then by the time they get to actually doing the rugby in the afternoon, we've had like 3 layers of sort of monitoring to see if they're actually going to perform at their best in the afternoon. Which obviously that's in an elite.
It's very data driven.
Yeah.
So when you get 45 minutes or only 90 minutes a week with a particular client, does that make it almost imperative that there's that understanding of why the exercises are done? We
set it out. We call it the PEP, the physiological, psychological, and emotional well-being of the customer. So the way we try and explain it and get it in is those first 5 minutes are crucial to the customer's session, because if their well-being isn't at a point where you feel like you can get the most out of their session, they're probably not going to achieve what they want. So when the first 5 minutes before they even get to moving their body at all, we're probably speaking to them, finding out how their day was, what's going on, why do you feel the way it is. Sometimes as soon as they walk in the door, they're feeding energy back to you, and Ed liked to call it our coaching energy or coaching battery. And then they can you can gauge your coaching battery and on what they're feeling like in the session. So if we can gauge their emotions in those first 5 minutes, it dictates a lot of what the rest of the sessions is going to be.
So we don't really, like on the 2 ends of the spectrum, if you go into where the Knights, where it's full time and everything's structured, so like you've got to structure it so you can allow for adaptation, allow for recovery at certain periods of the year, because you've got to be able to peak at certain points, and you want to try and make sure that people aren't getting injured. So everything's structured. Whereas coming into one-to-one personal training, where most people's goal is to just feel better, look better, all that stuff, you can't have 12 weeks planned out, because it's so variable. Where somebody could walk in they've just done 9 to 5 at work. It was the worst day of their life. You've got to chuck your plan out the window, and your aim of the session is not to, bench 2 kilos more than you did last week, because that was what was the plan. The new plan is to get this person leaving the building feeling better than when they walked in. That's why you can't really have the same sort of structured, in-depth approach, because it's so variable. And as soon as somebody walks through the door, or even when we can see them through the window coming through the car park, we use all our senses, so our eyes won't see their body language when they're walking in. If they're stomping in, frown on the face, open the door, hello, hello. You're gonna say, oh, what's going on? Everything all right? And then you sort of start that.
That sounds like me most days.
Start that dialogue. Try to delve deeper into what's going on, and then as you then taking in all this information, you're making decisions in your head. Right, I'm going to sack that part of my session off, add this bit in, and stuff like that. But then also you've got to take into account the individual, because you might have a certain person. I don't know which category you fall into in this, Tom, but where if they've had a bad day, they don't want to talk about anything. They just want to get absolutely melted.
Yeah.
We have a few like that. When they don't want, if they're not talking, you just need to just say, right, go, and they do it, and then they go, yeah, needed that, leave. And you get other people who need a bit more of a cuddle.
Yeah, some people want to know exactly how the session's going to go. Some people just want to switch off. So the real reason we sort of got onto this point is to talk about healthy lifestyles and behaviours, and the best way to sum it up, I think, is the health pyramid, or the lifestyle pyramid. So, as we know, the pyramid is larger at the bottom than it is at the top, and the bottom provides you foundations for all healthy lifestyles and behaviours. So they're broken up into the bottom of the pyramid being adequate calories with an asterisk, hydration, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, moving more, and reducing stress. Now, Ed's already brought up a bit about reducing stress, because if you've had a busy day, a hard day at work, before you even get to the gym or even think about making tea or getting to bed, or you're already on a negative, or the kids have been crazy, or whatever it is that is your stressor, that can cause different things and issues there. Moving more, I think, is very unique to the person, because the intensity can match whatever the person is feeling and whatever they need to do, but we'll bring that up a bit more. 7 to 8 hours of sleep sounds very sort of dream-worthy, or no pun intended, but some people will dream for that amount of sleep, but we'll come on to that a little bit more in a second. Hydration, again, very unique to the person, and adequate calories with asterisks, the asterisk being adequate protein at certain times of the day.
Well, ultimately those things, if you do all of those, you will be a fairly healthy person.
It sounds like maths to me. It sounds like if you add this and this and this and this, then say your goal is to lose weight, then
so adequate calories, for instance. So if you're trying to lose weight, you just need to make sure those calories are under the amount you eat less than what you burn, essentially.
But that is going to have a potentially negative effect on the rest of the pyramid, isn't it?
Potentially, yeah. So that's why I think it's good that you said adequate, because adequate is enough to be fueled to do what you are doing. Whereas if you underfuel, you will then lack. So we'll probably link it to the next layer. Your mental state will be different, because if you're hungry, don't know about anybody else, but I'm an absolute misery when I'm hungry.
Yeah, me too.
I can't function. So adequate calories for me is important, because if I'm trying to do anything and I'm hungry, I won't be able to. Trying to do all the other things will be harder. But then so if your calories are adequate, you're drinking enough, you're sleeping well, you're moving more, and you're not very stressed, you will be a healthy person. So that's like easy things that you can just tick off. So I've used the analogy of big rocks. So if you sort out your big rocks, like fitness or achieving goals, all it is about is filling a jar full of rocks. You move the big ones in first, it's nearly full.
Yeah, exactly that. And like Ed said, the next part of the pyramid is all mental health based, which shows, as Tom said in the intro, is the power of mental health. What people should train more is be positive, have willpower, be disciplined, and have some motivation. Now that's easier said than done sometimes, but again, we can bring that up on a more another episode probably. But if you look back at our mental health episode previously, there's the power of those can be key on what you want to achieve in your goal setting. Then moving up the pyramid again, it becomes a bit more niche now, but you'll notice how when you get towards the top, the things at the top are not what you expect. The next part of the pyramid is nutritious food intake, your micronutrients, adequate recovery, and consistency. So there's a bit of mental health in there as well, but then I think adequate recovery is quite linked to sleep as well. Yeah. So if that sleep is...
but then obviously adequate recovery takes into account probably not just the sleep, but the non-sleep
horizontal recovery.
Something rest, where it basically says chill out.
Yeah.
Don't do anything.
It's basically sleep, it's laying down and just... And then again, going back to your mental health, if you can create some sort of positivity, it's probably going to improve your recovery as well. And whatever that your recovery method may be, we like to say throwing shit at the wall with recovery, that if you try them all and see what sticks. And then the consistency, again, we mentioned with Tom's training, once he got a little bit of consistency, everything else started falling into place, which was big.
It's illustrated that step before. So if you are positive, have willpower, discipline and motivation, you will develop consistency. Because you can't have consistency without probably a sum of all those four. Or if one of them is missing, you might be able to keep through. But if you lose all of them, the whole pyramid comes falling down.
And then at the very top, this is what people probably don't think is what we call the components of fitness, or easy way to explain it is your training routine, is your strength training, cardio, and your mobility, which is the very peak of the pyramid. It's the last sort of brick that you need to put into place. But
I've got a little thing to add to this. So I think so strength, cardio, etc. I think people do that, but they do it as part of moving more. So people exercise, but very, very few. A lot of people exercise, but not many people train.
Yes,
that's what
Good point.
That's how I see things. So if you walk into commercial gym and have a look around, I reckon you will see at least 75% of the room. This is not official figures. This is just a guess. Please don't quote me on this. 75% of the room will be exercising, and they'll have gone into the gym and gone, this is what I'm doing today because I just am.
Bad habit.
They're just like, I need to burn some calories, so I'm just going to go on cross trainer for 20 minutes.
We're not advocating that is bad. There's still a place for that. But
that's at the bottom of the pyramid.
It's moving
more. Whereas if you are trying to be really sort of, develop your health, fitness, etc., it's a training routine. It's structured, a progressive overload, pushing things forwards, trying to get your body to adapt to a stimulus,
making you into super you.
Exactly. So I think you'll get, if you speak to somebody who goes to the gym quite a lot, who's not really, who just goes and has learned by doing, you'll probably find that they've lifted the same weights for years.
So why is it so key then to mix it up? So I don't think I've ever had any session the same. Never. It's either a different trainer or a different levels. It's always keeping you guessing, which I quite like. But why is that so important? So
that holistic approach is big because of the components of fitness, and I think we spoke about this on our podcast before, an episode before, is that you can't tick every box. Yeah. It's impossible to tick every box of the components of fitness because there's too much. One of them is coordination. Who's going to go to the gym and train coordination? If you've got you've got some issues with that. We do actually have a customer who does that, but
somebody told me there's a very good analogy for this. So let's say you've got 8 plant pots, and you are constantly watering plant pot number 1, plant pot number 2, plant pot number 3, and you're spreading your time across all of them and giving them all equal love. They will all grow at the same rate because you spend an equal amount of effort into each one. But then if you committed all of your effort onto one plant pot, it would probably grow pretty big, whereas the other ones wouldn't grow as much. And that's the same. If you can put effort into everything, but you will improve at the same rate. Like you're going to be a very slow progress. Whereas if you so if you're training to get fitter cardiovascularly, you probably should invest majority of your eggs into that basket to see improvement in it. Because not trying to delve too deep into a scientific hole is that controversially, weight training and strength training and cardiovascular training on a cellular level actually conflict.
Yeah.
So to some extent, the myth of you can't get strong and fit at the same time, to some extent, is true if done incorrectly.
But I mean, it goes along with the government's new guidance. So the government guidelines World Health Organization guidelines used to be 20 minutes 3 times a week, and then they had to keep expanding on it. It was like, that doesn't include your warm up. That's got to be certain intensity. Anyway, so they've completely changed it now, and the guidance is now you can do 150 to 300 minutes of moderate exercise, or 75 minutes to 150 minutes of vigorous exercise. So if you think about it as Ed's analogy of the people at a commercial gym, you could do 300 minutes a week of just steady on the treadmill, whereas you could do 75 minutes of a HIIT class or intense weight training in another respect. And the people who say that they haven't got the time to, well, then be a little bit smarter with your training, which is easier said than done. But like we've said before, is that if you think of it a little bit more, you don't have to work as hard. So then the person who hates the intensity sessions, okay, but you've got to understand that then there's a time commitment.
So are you actually saying that people can train for less time and end up with better results?
Well, it depends.
The scientific answer is depends on your goal.
Yeah.
However,
if you're trying to get stronger, you could do 3 30-minute weight sessions a week and see improvement. Whereas if you were trying to if
you're training for a half marathon, that half marathon takes
if you're training
potentially an hour and a half more. It depends on how good you are. You've got to train for practically that time to get good at it.
It's depends what you're trying to achieve. Like, look, if you're trying to lose weight, there's studies out there that saying that high intensity sort of interval training is better because you are working. It's shorter, which probably means more compliance longer term. You're going to burn more calories potentially in a short period of time.
But
and then also most high intensity interval training, they apply what we call metabolic stress, which then subsequently can cause muscle damage, and then it increases the amount of calories your body uses for the next 12 to 24 hours because it's trying to recover.
Ed sent me a good infographic that showed it with Jack Daniels. So if you're on a long session with Jack Daniels and you drink shots, and then you're going to have another shot, you're going to have a period of a break in between that. But if you had 1 mil and another mil and another mil and another mil, you could keep going for longer. So it's the same with your body. The only thing that's a bit of a weird thing with exercise is that the fat burning zone happens at a lower intensity. So if you do want to lose weight, that is actually at a lower intensity.
So the Huberman, who many people now listen to,
shout out to Andrew Huberman,
because he is a very good podcasting man. He put something out the other day saying that I think it's like 120 minutes a week, maybe slightly more, of zone 2, which is approximately 60% of your max heart rate cardiovascular work, is the most bang for buck in terms of body composition, heart, cardiac output, and
stress on your
heart, like maximum heart hypertrophy, which means stronger heart, for minimal amount of central nervous system and peripheral nervous system stress.
So what you're saying is go for a kind of a decent walk at a decent pace.
Can probably get into those heart rate zones.
I was speaking to my dad about this recently, and he said, "Oh, Howard, I'm so unfit," and I said, "But your fitness has changed completely now. So just we were walking up a hill in Spain, and I said, all you need to come to this hill 2-3 times a week. That's your intensity. Now, fitness's cruel joke is, you do that for 2-3 times a week, that's going to become your normal again. That's the cruel joke of fitness. But just getting out of breath, as Ed said, into your 60%, isn't that out of breath? You're going to be breathing a little bit, but not too hard. Once you get that little bit out of breath to the minutes that Ed said, did you say 120?
I think so, yeah. I think
so this says 150 minimum according to the World Health Organization per week. That, you know, that could be a walk, it could be yoga, it could be something that is unique to you that's going to make you just stress your heart just a tiny bit.
So listen to this podcast, get a sweat on. We're helping you out in more ways than one.
Yeah, that's
just keep moving for the duration of this podcast, and you will have a healthier heart.
100%. So, moving on to the next bit, I think this is probably the most underrated way, and it's going to be a little bit controversial, I think, as well. Hydration is the building block of everything of your body's processes does. So hydration, if you're ill and you're in hospital for, God forbid, for whatever reason, is you put on a drip, because that water and that saline, which is salt essentially, helps your body processes just work that little bit better.
Just touching on that, so you always get taught from a very young age at school to eat your fruit and veg because it's got vitamins in.
Yeah.
So there's two types of vitamins. There's fat-soluble vitamins and water-soluble vitamins. The water-soluble vitamins need water and adequate hydration for you to be able to process said vitamins. The vitamins are then what sort of assists with the physiological processes in your body to keep you functioning, to be able to and allows you to move, to burn more calories, to be able to break down fat, break down other waste products.
So where can I get these vitamins?
Well, all the, like, if you look at
so
every single vitamin,
people know electrolytes. People know that it's a very common thing. But getting the Lucozade isn't the only way you can get your electrolytes.
If you googled all of the essential vitamins, like A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's about 32 or like more. If you read how you can get them in your body, it's literally just describe a healthy diet. So like the meat has quite a lot of certain vitamins in, fish has a lot of other vitamins in, green veg has a lot of certain type of vitamin in, numbers of fruit have a certain type of another vitamin. So basically, if you get a rainbow of fruit and veg, mixture of red meat, white meat, fish, I recommended to somebody that if they wanted to make sure that their diet was diverse, to cycle between white meat, red meat, fish, white meat, red meat, fish, different colour vegetables and everything. A healthy serving of, not healthy, maybe, well, a healthy serving of fat, not meaning a lot of fat, meaning an adequate amount of fat, because there's obviously different types of vitamins in said fat sources, and also you need to eat fat to be able to process the fat-soluble vitamins. So if you don't eat any fat, you're on a low-fat diet, there's a whole heap of vitamins that you are potentially missing out on the benefits of because your body is not intaking enough fat.
So after all this, Howard, you need something to wash it down with.
Yeah, so the guidelines is that you need 35.5 ml of water per kilo per day, which is hard. That's hard to figure out, but let's put it this way. Everybody used to say drink 2 litres of water, but if you're an 80 kilo person, 2 litres of water is not enough, and that's just to live. So if you're trying to exercise, do all the things that we said, move more and all that, you need to up your water per amount of exercise that you do. So Ed'll back me up on this as well. Pro athletes, what they do is they weigh on the way in. So if they're going into training, they'll weigh themselves. That's their baseline. They'll train all day and then they weigh on the way out. And then should replace what hydration you've missed.
Is it a kilo of, or half a kilo equals a litre of water? I think something like that. Where you have to
replace that with sweating alone, and that's not including the electrolytes that you've lost through that, which is the water soluble vitamins that Ed mentioned. So with those electrolytes, the easy way to think about it is, if you don't have a glucose related sports drink, you're fine. Okay, so full fat Lucozade is probably going to be bad because you're getting too much glucose with that. But there is supplements, tablets you can take that give you a 0 calorie version of that. But the best way to do it is, like Ed said, is have a healthy meal. Maybe put a little dash of salt in your orange squash that Tom said, and you're away, and then you're getting some of those electrolytes back into your body without the glucose that comes along with it. Moving on with nutrition, that Ed said as well, is that healthy plate that we all are showed at school, and what Ed said about having different types of macronutrients, the eat well plate they call it, is a flawed concept, because you're not getting that same plate 3 times a day, which they don't offer you an option for. So Tom, what do you have for breakfast every day, most days?
I do try and vary it up. Today was beans on toast because I knew I was training later today. I do like to get some eggs in there. I think eggs are such an easy one.
Eggs, I think I read something saying eggs are the most protein dense per calorie out of all of the foods.
So eggs is one of the very few ways you can get protein in for your breakfast. It is really tough if you're not having a fry up every day. Even I struggle. I know Ed does the same thing. We take a protein supplement in the morning just so I don't have that stress. And what I try and do is get that protein timing as adequate as I can. So what you've got to try and think of is 20 grams of protein 3 times a day. So easy to split it up in your 3 meals. So most people hit that in your tea time, no problem. Your evening meal has that 20 grams, but it's the calories associated to those 20 grams. So you don't want to be having half of your body's calories in that meal in the evening. You need to spread it out with that protein throughout the day. So as an example, if you have your 3 eggs, what Tom's just said, in the morning on toast, you're starting the day right. If you then have chicken sandwich with a chicken breast in, you're set for your lunchtime, with some salad in there to get your micronutrients, and then you're having your evening meal, you're probably going to be fine. But if let's throw in a little bit controversial one, if you're a vegetarian, you're going to really struggle to hit, especially for breakfast and then lunchtime, to hit those adequate protein calories. Now Tom's beans on toast, he probably would have this morning, and that's a vegetarian one, which is
fibre
good.
dense, carb heavy, protein dense. Not bad.
But I went to a lecture at Leeds, which was from the University of Cork, and he had done a study that showed that adequate muscle repair, this isn't even muscle growth, adequate muscle repair only happened from 20 grams of protein 3 times a day, with 3 grams of that protein coming from leucine. But that's a whole other podcast on protein timings.
Do you know what leucine is, Tom?
Absolutely no idea. I'm sure as we go throughout the weeks we'll find out.
Yeah. So have a look back at nutrition previously. We might have covered it. And then the last 2 sort of building blocks with sleep, we mentioned as well, but I love this quote, is by LeBron James: nothing you can ever do is a substitute for sleep. And now that is absolutely, doing the research for this episode, I found that, and I think that's brilliant. I feel like having that put on the gym wall, because he is world class, and for him to recognise that is big as well. And it has a huge impact on your testosterone for men, and for women as well. A reduction in testosterone, reduction in your immune system and your tissue repair, and your physical and mental endurance if you do not have adequate sleep. But what is adequate sleep?
For me, about 9 or 10 hours. I love my sleep.
This is the thing. It seems quite unique to each person, but realistically, the guidance says 6 to 8 hours. But really, if you're on the 6, you're going to be struggling.
Yeah,
it needs to be 8+.
Well, this is a lot of the research now is more, rather than, obviously they promote 7 to 8 hours, or the usual amount, but there's quite a lot of research and talk getting spread about the importance of circadian rhythms.
Yeah, that's big as well for reducing your stress.
Hit me.
Don't know what circadian rhythm is? No.
Breathing.
So, circadian rhythm is like your body's routine.
Waking up when it's light, going to sleep when it's dark.
Again, referring back to our friend Huberman, he said that there's some research recently saying that in your first 90 minutes of sleep is your peak growth hormone secretion. So obviously this is if you're training to grow muscle, growth hormone is essential. But then if you go to bed later than you should or normally do, you struggle to get that initial 90-minute peak of growth hormone. So if your sleep schedule is off and you're waking up, or you're going to bed late and you're waking up early, or vice versa, it can potentially impact you without you even realising. So like you might be sleeping enough, but if it's your body doesn't get, your body's a creature of habit. Like you train it regularly, it gets bigger, stronger, gets fitter. You eat well, your digestive system becomes more efficient, etc. So if you go to sleep at the same time, it gets used to it. And then if you wake up at a similar time, and then they're saying now you need to the best way to wake up is via natural light. So you're getting these new alarm clocks that slowly increase the light into the room to stimulate the sunrise.
Friend of the show, Dr. Robertson of the University of Bolton, he told me that when they do the sleep study that they got people to walk at sunset to try and reset their circadian rhythm, so that seeing a sunset helped you have a better night's sleep.
And they're saying they say within 30 minutes of waking to try and get outside and be active and exercise, like a walk outside 30 minutes within waking. Obviously these people who are recommending this research don't have a 9-to-5 job in the winter in Doncaster or work at a gym
or a newborn baby
at 5 a.m. So it's all well and good with these practices. However, how is this accessible for the everyday human?
So Howard, what's your one top tip for getting a good night's kip?
So I saw this recently, military based, it was US military, and it comes on to a bit of mental health, but it was to have mindfulness and sort of go through your body like a process. So it's all centered around breathing. So you take a deep breath in, you focus on relaxing your fingers. So it's all based on each limb, and then you can do it on your torso as many times as you feel like you need to. So 5 fingers on each hand, you deep breath in 5 times, try and relax each finger every time you breathe out. Then you move on to your elbows, your shoulders, so on and so on. You move to your diaphragm, and that's when you really focus on your breath. So you try and blow your breath out through your diaphragm, and that relaxation and the oxygen helps wash your body away and tries to help you relax into a state of sleep. Now I've been trying that, being a new dad just recently. His sleep's become very challenging, so I'm trying to follow that process, and hopefully it becomes a habit forming that is my way of going to sleep. And if my body recognises that is how I sleep, doing it should follow that process.
Ed, you must have one.
Well, I've actually made an effort to try and increase my sleep amount over the last year, because I got the iPhone with the sleep schedule, and it told me that my average time in bed was about 6 hours. So if my average time in bed was 6 hours, that means my sleep was less than 6 hours. It's not the most accurate thing in the world, but I made a conscious effort to make that as close to 8 hours as possible, and I've now increased it, I think, to an average of about 7 hours and 37 minutes.
Well, mine doesn't rely on the US Army, doesn't rely on iPhones. I just don't look at my phone about half an hour before going to bed. I read, and then if I wake up in the night, the last thing you need to do is check what time it is. Do not check what time it is.
It's big.
If your alarm's not gone off, it's not time to get up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just roll over.
I've removed all clocks out of our bedroom now just for that reason. And what Tom said about blue light devices, it is a horrendous thing for us, not only on our sleep but on our mental health, because how many times has somebody seen something negative on Facebook and Instagram or whatever? You need to wash that negativity out of your life. So
this is another podcast, I think.
And I've done the same. I have the downtime on my phone, like Ed just said, is make your phone do that, and it's good that Apple has started to recognise that other phone providers are available. I just try to get to, as soon as I feel like I'm ready for bed, get in bed and just try and spend as much time in there as possible. And all of those things are going to help reduce your stress through the day, builds into you getting a better night's sleep. It's a revolving door of wellness and, as we said at the start, a healthy lifestyle.
Well, thanks for listening to us this week. It's been great to be in the chair for the first time, and it won't be the last. You can check us out at accelerate-coaching.com or on our Facebook and Instagram channels at Accelerate Coaching. Give us a like and subscribe. Submit your questions and comments on healthy lifestyles and behaviours in the sections below, and we'll be back next week with another Accelerator podcast.